Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here with the series we are running for the month of March, which is my 31 favorite rock bands that released 2 albums in the same year. So the 2 albums we're doing today come from a legendary band. Many feel this is the greatest progressive rock band of all time. In some ways, I do agree with that. And we're talking about Yes. This is the Yes album and Fragile. The Yes album coming out in March of 1971. Fragile coming out in November of 1971. Now, the US release of this was on January the 4th of 1972. If we went with that one, then you would have to come up closer to the edge, and that might change the whole outcome of this ranking here. But fortunately, we tend to go with the original date. This came out in November of 1971, which makes it these 2 albums that came out the same year, and that is what I'm sticking with. So a little bit about both of these albums. So this is their 3rd and 4th studio albums. This one was the first one to feature Steve Howe on guitar, replacing Peter Banks. This is really, in my mind, the first kind of album by Yes that really kind of takes on that Yes sound. Yeah, the keyboards aren't as flamboyant or as sophisticated. There's not as much synthesizer sounds on this album. In fact, there's not hardly any. But lots of really good material on here. Yours Is No Disgrace, definitely one of my favorite all-time Yes tracks. There is a little bit of a story about it being something that they kind of used from the Bonanza TV series. I don't know that is true. Maybe they heard something and they tried to adapt it. Then you have the clap, which they put on here, I think, to probably highlight Steve Howe's guitar abilities. I always loved his acoustic stuff, not so much his electric stuff. I do like his electric guitar playing quite a bit, but I think he's more of a master of the acoustic guitar. Starship Trooper, just an absolute classic. There's nothing more you can say about this song. It's definitely a listen to the earpiece or earphones song for sure. Needs to be loud, lots of stuff going on. Fantastic tune, one of their best, I think. Adventure, good track, but not a great one. Perpetual Change, probably the underrated track on this album. Deserves more attention than it probably ever gets, but it's a fantastic tune nevertheless. And then you've got the big hit, which is I've Seen All Good People, which is the first track on the second side or the 4th overall. A good track, but probably overplayed. A little bit too melodic for me, and that end part just goes on way too long. Okay, so the other album really, I think, is the one that's put them on the map as far as the world goes, with its massive hit in Roundabout, which is still one of my favorite songs. Also a fairly lengthy tune. Lots of great bass on this. The bass tone on this album is fantastic. Even with the 5-part songs, or I would say specialty songs, Cans and Brahms, We Have Heaven, 5% for Nothing, The Fish, and Mood for a Day, which highlights each of the individual musicians on here's abilities, including Rick Wakeman, who thus has replaced Tony Kaye on this album. A lot more synthesizer parts as well, which is the reason I think they got him. So you've got an all-star cast here: Chris Squire, Steve Howe, Bill Bruford, and Rick Wakeman. I can't imagine that there's ever been an assembly of such talented musicians on any given album anywhere. And this one and Close to the Edge both have these 4 on it. So it's an absolute all-star team here. Anyways, you've got like South Side of the Sky, which is maybe the underrated classic on this album. Yeah, it gets a lot of airplay on the radio still, but maybe the best track on the album in many ways. Long Distance Runaround, another really fairly well-known track on here. And then the other long length song on here, the longest song on the album, Heart of the Sunrise, the bass tone is absolutely outstanding on this. This is a very underrated but heavily instrumented song. I love it. Leading to me, this song leads to the next album, but just a great album. I think fantastic. And Yes had to be on this list. There are two albums, the Yes album and Fragile, both coming out in 1971. They had to be on this list. Maybe if I'd done this when I was still into my youth, I might have put this album, this group of albums, much higher than it was. Maybe it would have even won it. But both of them faded a bit over time, and some of the other stuff has come on and lasted a little bit heavier for me. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to comment about Yes or about either of the albums or about anything I've said, you can do that, and I will try to answer any questions as well. So please have yourself a good afternoon, a good evening, and goodbye.